Sorry. Go ahead, everybody.
Hello. I'm Chris Hewitt, and this is Livelihood News. We're just 4 minutes late today, I think better than sometimes, and we are here with two guests, Brian Nieves, a photographer.
How are you?
He uses currents for the last 7 years, and Karine Dutiel, the owner of KaN Landscaping in Kingston. And this is my co-host, Kevius Avery.
Hello.
Kevius.
Hi.
So what do you want to talk about, Kevius? There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to dive deep into, but I just want to know, we're still in this time of COVID, and I just want to know, how are you all adjusting to the times that we're in? Karine, your company, and Brian.
Well, speaking for myself, I'm a photographer, but I've been working the past couple of years doing lighting for Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And with how COVID has been for everyone, especially New York City, it's still up in the air, like when we return to work.
Mm-hmm.
To do shows, because there's nothing being produced in the United States at this moment. And a lot of large concerts, like outdoor concerts and stuff like that, live shows, are not going to return to New York most likely until 2021, unfortunately. And I know Broadway is looking to do some sort of opening possibly in September, but it's very difficult. It's a very difficult situation we're in. So personally, I've kind of been doing what Chris has been doing, and so working hard on personal stuff and the gardens. My garden is nowhere near as beautiful as his is right now, but I'm doing my best, and just basically taking a deeper look into myself and my careers and trying to figure out what direction I want to take myself in.
And Karine, you've been doing some really amazing things in Kingston. Can you tell us about a couple of those?
Well, yeah, I think it's been very helpful for me to love my work and to be dedicated to it in this time, to keep some balance, because it's been like very difficult with everything happening, and it's such a beautiful community that the 3 or 4 of us have kind of launched a project called Future Fruits, and it's I mean, the COVID and everything else really kind of pushed us to go faster than we would have done normally, because we felt there is an emergency to be resilient and to be food resilient. So it's all based on being able to access edible and nutritious food around your corner, and to transform, hopefully, the city of Kingston into like a beautiful garden. And this is an exciting project. And I think this project kind of like kept me sane so far, because it's so full of hope, and we have met so many partners and everybody from the city to like local organization wanted to participate and help this project to happen. That it's very optimistic.
Nice. We had Jared Williams from Future Fruits and the Edge Project on our show about 3-4 weeks ago.
Exactly. Yeah, there's Jared, there's also Barbara Scott, and there's also my business partner, Nadia Jossini.
Wonderful.
Nice. You brought up the need to be responsive in this time, as there's this growing need for food security. So can you talk a bit on what that looks like for Future Foods and how that's being implemented in Kingston? And Chris, may you also talk about how that looks when we talk about Pay It Forward and the digital resilience market and all the ways food security is initiated through these initiatives.
Sure. Karine, you can.
Yeah, I mean, like the way we are hoping it would work is definitely to kind of reclaim the public space and to create food like at your doorstep. And it's actually what it used to be, and it had been changed because of all the petroleum-based industry that kind of be like monopolistic production, and we are totally disconnected from nature, from our food. There is a lack of of also like flowering plants for the pollinators. So this project encompasses like such a great, array of positive transformation, because by planting, you also like you cool off like a city, so it's just all this heat that you address. It filters the air, so it's pollutant. I mean, it takes the water, so it kind of does water retention, and it feeds everybody. So it's really like this project it's a win-win all along.
Beautiful. Is that green line pollinators in addition to Broadway pollinators with the new project?
Yeah, actually, we are not the only one. I mean, it was also part of what we wanted to do with the Greenway, and the Kingston Land Trust is definitely a partner with us on future fruits. And it's all this state of mind of like already using the space on the land to produce food, definitely.
Nice. In a way, what we've been doing with the resilience market, also COVID forced us into high gear, where we used to have current members who would log into their account and choose from over 400 places where they could use their currents. But if you wanted 50 things, it might take you an hour. So we quickly made the digital resilience market where we curated all member offers into one easy shopping experience. And now I could buy 50 things in 5 minutes. I did it today before I left the office. But I wanted to come to the garden because I knew we'd be meeting with you, and we just finished the cedar fence during COVID with cedar from my land. It's things I never had time to do. But in addition to that balance of life, getting to know my family better, loving my wife more, getting into the land more, we kicked into high gear with the current. And so the digital resilience market helped us go from 0 currents being spent every week to thousands.
Wow.
Because right before March 10th, 40,000 currents were being exchanged every month consistently. So we had to create this market, and now we're opening on August 1st at 628. I saw your husband come in for groceries recently, and that's getting a lot of currents moving, and it's allowing us to meet more local farmers, local food distributors. I had a great talk with Hudson Valley Flows today, which really focuses on bringing farmers together to localize production for New York City. And that's the goal of our new cafe. It's called Tilda's Kitchen and the Resilience Market.
That's great.
You just mentioned when you were talking about bringing food to the doorstep, you said, and I quote, it's what it used to be. That there is a time where food was accessible. Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that there was a time where like people were more connected to their land and the production was local. You didn't have like big supermarkets bringing you food like from all over the world. It was really happening, like in your area, and I think like as like industrialization of the agriculture took place, it kind of moved away to a point now where it's like it's becoming like ridiculous and makes us very vulnerable. If you feel like like if the drivers cannot drive anymore, well, that's it. We have no more food. It's just like it's a very vulnerable system. And bring it local, totally transform like and also the landscape. The landscape is transformed. What we have now, we have like mostly some lawns, that are totally useless. They do nothing for anybody. It's just like it's a pollutant place. You put pesticides, you put whatever is going to pollute your water that you're going to drink and make you sick in the long run. And you need like lots of different like lawnmower and everything. I mean, it's just an amazing thing that we have transformed our sense of aesthetic to useless kind of land. And this has to be transformed, and it's not easy. I'm doing it in my yard, and I'm creating like this permaculture, place. And for my neighbors who all have like this beautiful, immaculate monoculture of grass, it's a big step, and it's a conversation to have and to say why you're doing this, and also because there is also a very big lack of fresh food available for people who don't have the needs. So yeah. It's not right.
Yeah, I'm sure, Kivius, you have some questions for Brian, but I just wanted to point out when COVID first started and we were more involved in Project Resilience, getting food to people, I brought some groceries to a struggling family in Saugerties. And as I was entering, I thought, I could tell them about dandelions, how they're edible, and I could tell them about wild chives. But as I looked, it was perfectly manicured, and they had a beat up mower over here, and I couldn't tell them one thing to eat from their property.
Yeah.
Where they're struggling, and if they had thyme, which is perennial, and oregano, and other things that come back every year, they can make a stew.
Make stew.
You know.
There's so much so simply that can be done for people to have their own resilience at home, to have their own victory gardens, as they were once called.
Exactly, exactly. And I think also, like, when you start to grow your own food, I think the line between food and medicine is very blurry, because it's like, you know, lots of like medicine plants are also like nutritious. Like it's kind of like it's the same thing as like when you go and you look at the processed food and what is harmful to you, the line is also blurry on the other hand. You know, so you kind of like shift to the wellness in a very, very dramatic way.
Nice. I'm going to look up a quote real quick while Kevius starts to introduce a couple of questions. But that reminds me, I think of Aristotle said something about food being medicine and medicine being food.
Exactly.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. So, well, right off this topic of fresh foods and how crucial that is to the community, I kind of want to touch on that question. Brian, I know you've had experience with community development, and I just want to know, like, how crucial is healthy foods to the development of a community, and what are the ways, and Chris, you could tie this in also, what are the ways does healthy foods impact the community? Because, you know, some people just look at like food as food, right? It goes in, it comes out, but it impacts way more than just the individual. Can we speak a bit to that and why that's crucial going forward?
Food it's more than in and out. It's more than just nutrition. You know, it's mental health. It's love. Like in my family, in my culture, you know, I'm Puerto Rican descent. You know, food is love. Food says you care. And when people don't have food in a community, it breaks down the community because it seems like you're not cared about. So with what's going on now in Kingston over the past few years, that has been built up with Chris and everyone, and like the city garden on South Street,
South Pine City
South
Farm,
Pine.
Seed Song Farm,
Yes.
Good Work Institute, helping with gardening.
It's amazing because it's having food produced in the community, available for the community. And New York State and the Hudson Valley especially is in a prime position to take the lead on a lot of this monetarily and food-wise, because over the past decade, the amount of small farms and farmers markets that have popped up in New York State and the Hudson Valley especially is tremendous. I grew up in Orange County, in Warwick, New York. It's an old dairy farming community. And part of that community is also Pine Island, which is a black dirt onion farming community. There's a lot more happening out there now, but even Warwick, similar to Kingston, is turning into itself to look inward and supporting the farms that are there and trying to create networks. I know one gentleman, Orion, has been in contact with Chris. He's looking to get the Current down in Warwick because he sees it as a wonderful idea for the community and to connect that part of the Hudson Valley to this part here, because there are a lot of similarities with the care and the growing of food and the growing of community. And it all fits together. You can't have a good community if people are hungry, if people are starving. Children can't concentrate. They don't do well in school. You know, we have to get food and money into the hands of the people that need it most.
And I often say food is currency. That's why we started satisfyhunger.org, and that's why we're opening a community kitchen.
Yeah, perfect. Chris, can you talk a little bit more about the community kitchen? Because Brian, you just brought up a great point on that food is an educational experience, right? You have to be in tune with your land, in tune with the folks around you. And Chris, I think, you know, it's amazing. Karen is opening a kitchen that really values education behind food. Can you talk a bit about that decision and just the kitchen as a whole and what you look forward to?
Sure. I learned from community currencies like the Brixton Pound that when you have a brick and mortar, a location people can come to, you learn so much about each other. And we had, right before COVID, at the Good Work Institute building that we were tenants in, we were having weekly lunches with current members, and it created, there'd be 30 to 40 people. It created so many currents flowing because of a relationship with food, stories, and friendships. And so people were downloading the new app every week, and I get emails like, that was one of the best lunches I've been to. And so we were like, how about we make a restaurant and do it 5 days a week? So the idea is to bring the community together, and that's why we're calling the kitchen side Tilda's Kitchen. Our logo is a tilde, and so we want to make it like grandma's kitchen when you walk in. And our slogan so far is community-inspired global cuisine, because we're moving into that spot to embrace the community, not create something fancy that's too expensive, but affordable with a triple tier pricing model, using 4 types of cuisines initially, and let the community evolve the cuisine over time. And so that means we can embrace the Guatemalan community in Midtown, and the Oaxacan community, and Seasoned Delicious from the current member who makes spices, hot sauces, and catering. They're going to be helping with the Caribbean component of our cafe, for example. So we're looking for ambassadors within the community to demonstrate the food system education, but also on the market side, it's going to be about community currencies, time banking, mutual aid, and local production, really making things with the community in our space. And we're going to rent out the long tables in the market, and any meeting can be catered in there too. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And Karine, so
I just wanted to add one thing. I just spoke with Jared yesterday, Jared Williams from Future Fruits, about having a currant garden on the side of our building. We have a whole bed of soil, and we're going to plant the fruit called currants along the whole edge. And then over time, when we develop really great anchors of currants in the community, any business that uses a lot of currants will come and plant them a currant garden for fruits. That's the idea we have.
I love that. I want to continue this topic of education and being in tune with your land. And Chris, bringing up Future Fruits was a perfect segue into that. Karine, and I know you work really close with Future Fruits. Can you talk about your project with the African Burial Grounds and what it means to really connect with your land as shifting Midtown Kingston into a society that really understands this land and is a reflection of that?
Yeah, thank you for saying this, because like Future Fruits is really based on education, and our goal is really to educate the youth and having them design the site, having them learn to engage with the community, learn, like it's going to be educational like all the way, and the idea would be for us to be mediator and to kind of like encourage, you know, like the growth of these places and make it easy for the community to reclaim the space, and really to kind of like to give it and give the tools, you know, to maintain it and stay set back and go to another place. So we just want to initiate. We are hoping to be initiator and be there also to help, and that's our goal. So education and the youth is really like the main component of our project. And yeah, maybe I can share my screen. I don't know if I can do this.
That'd be great.
Okay, I'm going to talk about, let's see. So can you see? So this is the Pine Street African Burial Ground, and this is a project. We work with the YMCA Pharma project. We work with RMB. We work with the Kingston Land Trust. We work with the Sarah Carson for the video, and she's making a beautiful movie on it. And so it was a very it was a big team of organization trying to get together and to create this project. So this is the mission statement. I don't know if you can see it, of the youth design, and they are the one who kind of like came up with this mission for this African burial ground that's been rediscovered, and it's going to be honored as it should have been. So we went. It was like a few months project with the student. They had their journal, and you can see like some of the designs that they created along the way. We had lots of workshops where we learned how to do some weaving. We went to the city see the African burial ground in the city. This is some of their projects that they did. They were just amazing. These were the manifesto we are working with, the Black Space Manifesto. We give us like a great template to work with the community and some guidance and some of the symbols at the African burial ground in New York City and the Kentucky clothes. All these were inspiration for the project. So this is one of the designs, as you can see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. So you see, like this, there's a house here. So actually, we in these options we had removed the house, but I think we're going to keep it. And so as you go into the house, you have like these different circles where you honor the person who are buried. And as you evolve here, there's like a stage for performance and music and like an interpretative center at the end. So it's like a procession. And this was the concept of like the chains of the enslaved people being like exploding and giving freedom. So this was the concept of the design. I'm just going fast. This is like this rendering when you see as you go into the space. And so you see the students have organized the space in 4 categories where you have the wood that represent like the ship and the lumberyard that was there before. And it's a transition from the water element into the boat. You have the stone that is like the shore and the land element. You have the agriculture that was like the main activity of the enslaved people, and the metal also that are the tools. And all these are like the component of the design. And here you see more in details with like some references of images that the student selected.
This is beautiful. I love it. What's the timeline, Karine?
Well, we are actually like this is like with the inside with like some word being on the stones engraved. So actually we are working with R&B and other partners to figure out what will be the next phase, and trying to secure some funds to make it happen. This is like a gateway with some beads, that goes around and some bottle trees. So there's lots of symbolics and references.
Wow. Is Hudson Valley Bee Habitat and Emily involved in that?
Not yet, but I'm sure they will.
Emily and Alana.
Yeah.
No, nice.
Yeah, I'm sure we work a way to work with them. So the project has been presented by the student at the Restorative Center, and it's been a great, an amazing, magical moment. It's been a very high learning curve for me to learn about, to relearn the history that was taught even here in France. It's just like it's the same, and we had to learn everything, and it's like everything scramble, and you have to reconstruct yourself on some new base because everything you were taught is not the truth. And yeah, it was a very, very, and it's still a very powerful project. And the bond that we all have with the students and the partner on this project is very strong, and I'm very grateful to be partner on this.
Is it also a City of Kingston project? Is there municipalities involved?
Yeah, the city of Kingston funded at the participatory budget, and they funded some of the projects for this. Right. Absolutely, yeah.
But it was spearheaded by Harambe and Kingston Land Trust, right?
Yeah, they were there, totally. So beautiful.
I can't wait to visit.
Yeah, and we're going to keep working with the students to evolve into the design, because that's the only way, I think, to stay true to the project by teaching. I mean, we were blown away by the students in Kingston. They were like high school students that were working with Susan Errett from the YMCA Farm Project, and they were just amazing. we were just like totally blown away by their abilities to design and to understand and to ask people what a design could be and make it happen. Just like amazing people. So
Wonderful. Nice. We've worked with YMCA Farm Project in a couple of things, and I love working with their teens. They're great cooks, and they're learning about how to cook with fresh local vegetables.
yeah, it's a great team over there for sure.
So what do you think, Kevius? It's almost 5:30. It's a nice day out. We have a half hour to talk more.
Yep. I want to check in for the folks just joining before we continue. Karine, may you stop the screen share, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Hello, everyone. So this is Livelihood News. We have our show every Friday at 5 o'clock now. Our first 9 weeks, I believe, were at 2 o'clock, and we found that more people can tune in at 5. This morning, I stopped into Saunderskill Farms and bought my coffee and my breakfast, and I said to the owners who have been advertising in our publication since 2010, I got so used to making my own breakfast and coffee, I haven't seen you in like months. And I was like, don't worry, I'll be coming in more often. But they're an amazing supporter. They were the first people to say yes to advertising in our publication, and I love shopping there. They're over in Accord. Also, Kenco Outfitters in Kingston has been a supporter and an advertiser, and
They're great. I just got my fishing license renewed there last week.
nice. I love fishing with Brian, so I'm gonna have to get my fishing license too. I believe if you're stressed out and need a little bit of someone to talk to, you can call the Kingston Frontline Mental Health Line that O Positive launched. And Kenco accepts currents. All of our members are using currents to keep money local. So this is Livelihood News. This is one of our projects for the Hudson Valley Current. The Current is a community currency that exchanges abundance and resilience. LiveelihoodMagazine.org is our way to learn about abundance and resilience. And SatisfyHunger.org is our way to share abundance and resilience. So our guests today are Karine Dutiel from KaN Landscaping and Brian Nieves, who's a photographer in the area and a talented lighting technician for Broadway plays. And I'm with Kevius Avery, and I'm Chris Hewitt.
Hey, yeah. So I think let's shift the topic to currents. Brian, I know you've worked with Hudson Valley Current before, and how did your involvement with the currents come about? And afterwards, Karine, what was your decision to become a current member? So starting with Brian, is how did you find out about the current? How did you get involved with it? Yeah.
So my involvement with the current occurred.
I know he's going to tell a joke.
It occurred because Chris and I have been friends since college.
25 years.
Yeah. We've been friends for a long time, and we've always worked together on a lot of things. I'm going to praise him right now, and it's not because he told me to. Chris has been one of my best friends for 25 years, and it's because he's open and giving, and he wants to bring everybody up. So, I had worked on the precursors to a lot of these things with him. The magazines.
Yeah.
They started in college.
96.
96. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doing a little bit here and there when my time to spare from my own life was available. And when Chris launched the Current, he knew my background as an actor and as a waiter and a communicator. So that's where he brought me in. He brought me in to kind of be not necessarily a mouthpiece, but a communicator between the Current and the members, to get the members involved, to try and bring more people into the group, into the family, I'm going to say, because that's what it is. It's a big family of people who support themselves. So, I was the community director. Yeah. And I would contact and go meet with members and potential members and teach them how to use the Current, how to use current text pay, and those systems so that it would be easier, because it was a very hard concept in the beginning for people to grasp, because there was no paper currency like Chris and his team has finally created, which are absolutely gorgeous. These notes are amazing. So to get people to look at that beautiful thing.
It's got silver foil on both sides. Each one is a native animal. This is the rusty patch bumblebee that was suggested by Emily Putoff from Hudson Valley Bee Habitat. And then the back is the habitat of the animal and their diet.
And having these now is a tremendous step forward for the currency itself. When I was working there is when I really learned a lot about local currencies, and I looked a lot at the Brixton Pound and what the Brixton Pound did locally in the community. And I was an early advocate, I feel, for the paper bills because of their success in other communities. And I understood and wanted, and I'm very grateful and happy that Chris has brought it to the broader community and made it more than just like business to business. You know,
which we do with a big team, community members, volunteers. It's been 7 years of teaching about money and what it is. And so until COVID, it was really hard to get people to embrace the current until cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin became $19,000 for one Bitcoin. And then people were like, oh, is this like Bitcoin? And I used to say 7 years ago, no, it's not like Bitcoin. But then it became 19,000 for one Bitcoin. I was like, yes, this is like Bitcoin, except very different. And then I could get into it. So now people have heard about it more. And we call someone like Brian, I think this is Michael Schumann calls people like Brian a pollinator. And when Liz Harrington came on board on our team, that's when I met Karine through our local Liz pollinator.
It was just really nice to get into the community and work with people.
Yeah, and I met Liz. I learned about the Hudson Valley Current through the paper, actually the newspaper, and I looked at who is publishing this paper, and I was like, wow, this sounds very interesting. So I took the phone and I spoke with Liz, and it was exactly what I had in mind. I'm part of the Woodstock transition movement, and it's all about like being resilient and developing like some local strengths, and it made total sense, and so it was a beautiful project, and everything you did so far, it has been just like totally in line with the best intention and also like the best realization. I think the process and the goals are like both so important, and as what I see, you're really like working on both, which is not easy, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's been a fun, wild ride, my hardest job and my most rewarding job ever. I love it. I was just going to ask you something, but I bet Kevius has a better question.
Yeah, or do I? Okay. Yeah, I was actually, what really excites me about KaN designs and the current and community development as a whole is we talked about the idea of education and how that's looked at through your separate organizations. And now we're hitting on the topic of sustainability, because we're talking about we want to feed people, we want to provide financial security, food security. So I want to bounce back and forth, starting with Karine, is how does sustainability look? If we're, as we're stepping outside as someone that creates outdoor spaces, how does sustainability look? And then going down to Chris and Brian is how is sustainability implemented? And far as implemented go, like how does it feel to be a part of a sustainable system that is the current, and what exactly does that mean as far as everyday life? And I know that's a kind of a loaded question, but I think we could get some topics going on there. And so starting with.
So yes, sustainability is a very big word, and it's so holistic. How are you sustainable? It's mental health. It's education. It's financial needs being met. It's a place to live. It's beauty. All these things are like so, unfortunately now difficult to attain. And I think being sustainable is trying to be sustainable. You know, it's like creating this path to wellness for yourself and for the earth around you. Climate change is a big component. I think the COVID and climate change are like two big elements that are like, you know, driving people one way or another. And I hope we'll use like this time of being kind of like shaken to realign to a better path. And the sustainability will lead us to stay on Earth, basically, to be able to but to stay in a good way to practice this permaculture. That whatever happens, it's gonna build a community. It's gonna build joy. You know, I feel like we have to have a process that's gonna solve it. That's as important as the goal, as I was saying. I think.
Beautiful. I think we've been hearing the word consistently sustainability since probably the 90s is when it started being a buzzword. And by, I think, 2000, people started talking about how ambiguous the word is. And you touched on that, Karine, because what are you actually doing that's sustainable? And now I believe the more buzzword is resilience. And so both are great. We practice sustainability and resilience. But there's a shift toward a just economy that is trying to get extractive economics out of our communities and creating regenerative economics. So that's what I love about the current. Because of the perpetual multiplier effect, the first current that was spent in 2013 is still here. And, you know, Facebook groups like the Circulation of Our Dollar is really trying to educate the Kingston community and Saugerties and others about the black dollar and how long that black dollar lasts in our communities. It's typically 6 hours, whereas an Asian community like Chinatown could keep their dollar in that town for about 30 days. And Asian communities are very supportive. White communities are very supportive of their sister and brother businesses. And so I'm working with Seasoned Delicious, and we met with Rennie Scott Childress this week, an alderman in the city of Kingston, to talk about how we can shift our thinking about cheapest price, especially in municipalities, to best value. And best value creates resilience because it keeps our money local. Whereas for years in New York State, you had to, as a government, choose the lowest price if you got a bid from somebody. The RFP, go with the lowest price. But in my town, where I'm a councilman in Kerhonkson and Accord, 2 weeks ago, we passed the best value procurement policy, which means we can prioritize Black, Indigenous, people of color owned businesses, women owned businesses, locally made over best price. And so I suggested City of Kingston, if they don't have best value already, they should.
That's great.
Yes, I would love to have some document on this. I would like to share this if you can send me something on this, because I think this is great. Because I talking about resilience.
Every city and town manual that New York State publishes talks about best value. So I can share info with you, but you can also. Yeah.
Okay.
And Brian, I want to shift the question to you also. Is how does sustainability feel and look and is implemented?
One more, repeating one more time.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was talking fast. Sorry. How does sustainability feel? You know, to be a current member, and how does that look as far as implementing into the community?
Well, it provides security. Mm-hmm. You know, when you have like a guaranteed local currency that is there just for your community, you're providing great security financially, food-wise, and educationally wise, you know, for everybody involved. So when you have that grouping, people are going to help each other. When everybody has something in common, they're going to help each other. So having the current is like having that thread that is sewn through every garment. Yep. You know, so everyone stays connected, and you're connected. It's like putting your hands in the soil when you're planting for a garden, because the more you have your hands in the soil, the more you work within your community, the stronger your community is going to be, and the better growth it's going to have. And by keeping things local, you're going to have better health, you're going to have happier people, and it's a bonus all around
Mhm.
sustainability, because that leaks out and that gets into other, it flows like water, because sustainability, other people hear about it, other people want it, so they see what we're doing in our community and they take it to their community and they build from there. it, Sustainability is inspiration, so it helps people to want to move forward, to want to grab your neighbor and bring them with you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful in the way that it affects the community.
And I think what's cool about our toolkit of engagement that we've embraced, which I helped develop when I was in the Good Work Institute Fellowship with my other fellows, it's about how in a community that wants to prevent gentrification, engagement is the key. Because when you know your neighbors and you like your neighbors and you appreciate them, you develop a relationship that embraces them. Instead of being like, these neighbors in that town, in this neighboring community that's dangerous to me, they don't matter to me. And so I like the idea that when I eat seasoned delicious spices, for example, I think of Martin and Tamika who made them. It's not McCormick spices that came from somewhere. I have no idea where it came from. I think about my friends when I buy locally, and that's what I love.
Nice. And Chris, I want you to introduce the folks just joining us. We're on our last 15 minutes here. It's been a great conversation thus far.
Great. I'll make this station break a little bit faster. I'm Chris Hewitt with the Hudson Valley Current, and I'm here with Kevius Avery, my co-host on Livelihood News. It's our show we have every Friday on Facebook Live. Our sponsors this week are Saunders Kill Farms, Kenco Outfitters, and O Positive. Our three primary projects, if you want to check them out, hudsonvalleycurrent.org, satisfyhunger.org, and livelihoodmagazine.org. We're here today with Karine Dutiel from KaN Landscaping and Brian Nieves, a master photographer and lighting expert. He's worked for Mercedes and other amazing clients, and I just have loved his photography for years. Kevius, I love when you keep us on track and let us know what we should talk about next.
Yeah, and for this last 15 minutes, I do want to dive into a really big update on the Current, but I wanted to go back to know what's next for us all. I know the Current has a lot of great developments. I know Karine has a lot of great developments, and I just met you, Brian, but I know you're in the midst of great things. So I'll start with Brian. Is what's next for you and your involvement in photography? If we could get into that a bit.
So one of the avenues I'm taking with photography is more portraiture and also education. So what I'm doing is looking into putting together small teachable classes about just simple lighting for people, so they can do their own photography at home if they need to, because in these times you've got to pull all kinds of hustles in addition to whatever regular job you have. So if people can learn a little bit about photography, if I can help them with that education, they can photograph their own products and be able to save money. I don't mind. I know a lot of photographers, people are very personal about their work and their job, but I want to help people to be able to do what they can for themselves. It's all very simple. So like I said, I want to help create a course to help people locally know how to properly light their products so they can promote themselves better.
Lovely.
And I think you reach on, and I don't want to dive too deep into photography itself, but you reach on this idea of really living in a moment, right? What photography does, and what your service would do is teach people how to enhance those moments. I just want to know, like, what's the just dive a little bit into photography, but what's the importance of living in a moment or capturing a moment, or what have been your favorite works that you've made that are moments that you love to revisit and carry with you?
So I've done a lot of like documentary style photography, and I love it because what you're doing, you're capturing a moment of history, you're capturing a moment of time, you're capturing people's joy, their happiness, you're capturing community. You are taking a single solitary 1/300th of a second of time and memorializing that forever. So taking the, I use pictures as a way for myself to relate to people, to learn people. And it can be very personal, photography, because with all art, everything you produce, you put yourself into. So it's looking at those aspects to be able to learn from people and to be able to teach people and to be able to show people the past and also capture that present moment in time so people can see that in the future. So it's about collecting moments, collecting memories, collecting history, and being able to have that to present to other people so everyone can learn in some way or another.
I love what you just said about showing people in the present the past, right? And moving to the future, considering those. Because Karine, in your mission statement behind your African Burial Ground, you said we aim to use the past and present to educate. So as that is one of your like core missions, I want to know like what's next for you? What's next for the burial ground? How y'all are coming with that? And then Chris, I'll tie in a question with you right after.
So what's next for us? I don't know if I can share my screen again. Can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. So I just want to show you that this is the YMCA of Kingston. We've been working with students and with the community. We did many charrettes where we learned what the community wanted, how to activate the space. It's a space just between the farm behind the YMCA. And so the farm is here. And so the space works as a community outdoor space where people can meet, they can eat. We have a kitchen container we're working on now that will be working and feeding and gathering the people on the space. We have a little stage where people and youth can come and perform. We have like an outdoor screen where you can see movies, and so it's all this idea of offering an outdoor space where people can enjoy themselves and have like behind it you have the playground. So we are working on this phase now. This is in the making. It should be finished, I would say, like by the end of the summer. And this is a beautiful that we hope space where like so it developed as you go. It goes like from the very young children to the adult. We have a fitness center for the adult, and every space has a different age group, and everybody, of course, is welcome to participate on it. So you have some example of like different choices of play equipment. So this is the project we are working on. And we might ask the community to come to help on some part of this project, to help spread the mulch, to help, do like some work to make this project happen. So we might reach out to you to send some good words for us to get some volunteer on this. And I also want to present this project. This is on Hasbrook and Delaware. I don't know if you've seen like phase 1 has been done by the city of Kingston as this little S, pass on the land, and so this would be phase 2 that we are working on now with like some you see like some little shelter here where you can sit and meet and wait for the bus, and you have also some eco art habitat, and Emily is working with us on this one from Hudson Valley Bee Habitat. And we have like, so it's going to be some art pieces that are also eco-friendly. And also we are working on these beautiful benches. All the inspiration comes from the railroad. We have the rail trail going underneath, so this is part of the Green Line. And we are working with the Kingston Land Trust. So all the vernacular belongs to the rail. So that's the project also that we are working on now.
Beautiful. That was Hasbrook, Delaware Parklet, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it said past, present, future there. So that ties in perfectly to what we're talking about. And I really like that project in particular because you're touching into this idea of what happens, you know, and this is what the current is doing, is what happens when there's a system that kind of erases the past, right? Is it extracts value from communities, and if you are in tune with your past, you know, you do the exact opposite. You retain value. So Chris, I want to know, you know, as you're moving into the future with this, you know, great idea of what the past is, this great image of the present, and creating a future off of it. I want to know what projects you have under your belt, and Hudson Valley Current has under their belt, you know, with the store. And please give us an update on everything that's been happening and the CCPP and the Pankaki initiative.
Great. So before I go into the CCPP, which is the Current Community Protection Plan, I'm just going to mention that I was trained as a master gardener with Cornell Cooperative Extension. And so when I used to prune apples, I would call it communing with my elders. And I would do huge estates with hundreds of apple trees. And every branch, especially if it's 100 years old, has a history in every branch of the farmers who cut before you, because it's called scaffold branches where they come out like this. So anything coming up as a sucker is cut. So you could see a sucker that was cut 80 years ago and what that did to the tree. And you can see 4 years ago, getting rid of a large branch or a leader on top. So I called it communing with my elders because I, over 13 years of pruning, no, it was probably 9 years of pruning once I was certified. I would see it evolve over time. And so I developed a relationship with each apple and the farmers before me. I just love gardening because of that. And I'm in the process as a town board member of creating a 34-acre watershed educational park that is incorporating permaculture techniques with Andrew Faust to plant along the edges of this old growth forest. There's oaks over 200 years old, fat trees, but we're planting around the edges with nuts and berries and fruits and nuts that don't usually get planted by farmers because they take 50 years to mature. It's generational. So farmers are in it for the profit and they can't focus so much money and attention on the 50-year products or the 50-year crops. So we're doing all these plantings that can last for hundreds of years and generations. But to bring it back to the current, it's economy that keeps those things going. When our municipality can afford to create a park, we can do that. But when you have to tighten up budgets, then we need other types of capital. Community capital, social capital, cultural capital, natural capital. Because when we start to realize that our relationship with capital is all about financial capital, then we can start to realize that if Brian shares a recipe for his coquito that he brings to my New Year's party every year, he shared his Puerto Rican cultural capital with me. And if I give him my Sicilian mom's pasta con pesto recipe that's classic and hundreds of years old because of generational inheritance, that's cultural capital that's very valuable. So it's about revealing value over time. And we want to lock money into our economy with this new Current Community Protection Plan. Karine, I'd love to tell you a lot more about it and share the overview, but we're releasing it on July 1st, and it's a funding mechanism. We're making 100,000 currents available to 10 nonprofits, 100,000 currents available to 10 food-oriented businesses. So I think Future Fruits fits that. And then 100,000 currents available to any municipality who is interested in using 100,000 current interest-free line of trust. So I met with Rennie Scott Childress yesterday to see if we can use currents in the city of Kingston. I met with the mayor many times about currents, and he was intrigued and thought maybe we'll start using them for parking tickets first to get used to it. But now with you and your involvement with the city, we can help kickstart the usage of their currents and get your currents moving too at our market and at local farms and CSAs. And then the county is also expressed interest. So if we can get a county on board too, because it's available to Ulster, Dutchess, or Columbia, then we can generate hundreds of thousands of currents into our economy quickly. And we have 2 doctors studying what happens. Dr. Leanne Usher, an economist, and Dr. Michael Marks started the study called Network Analysis of Kingston and the surrounding areas on March 10th, and the study goes to September 10th. So it's a 6-month picture of the COVID economy using currents and dollars. So all of us who participate will be in this study, and it'll show how we've impacted the economy during COVID. So I'm very excited to start sharing the overview, and I could share that with you, Karine, before July 1st, and we can take it from there.
That'd be great. That's
Right.
excellent.
And I know we're in the last 2 minutes, so I just have one more question for each person. Chris, you just touched on generational inheritance. And certainly the work that we're all doing is going to impact future generations. So I don't want to go too deep on our personal philosophies here, but I just want to know each person is what is that one thing that you hope the next generation inherits from the work that you're doing today? So I know that's kind of deep, right? That's kind of deep. So like, so like, I know it's deep. So Ashley, want to start with Karine and then go to Brian and end it with Chris. So you can sign us off.
Great.
So
Let's go for
what
20 seconds.
Yeah.
How is your work impacting future generations?
Well, I just hope to open doors. Like I just hope that that whatever I had the privilege to learn, I will be able to pass it to all the youth on my way, and that will be. I mean, yeah, it's what we. I think we are very motivated to be educational in our design. Design is a very important tool. It's a very political tool. And when you design a city, you create a living space that can influence people for generation and generation. So what we love to do is to give back the design power, to the youth to create the city of their dream or their vision of what they want to create. And if we can help in any way to do this, then that's it. That'd be lovely.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, for me with photography, what it is I'm hoping that people will, always recall your roots. Will always remember where you came from, the people who came before you, because as I said, I feel that I record history. So it's education for the people to remember who we are as people and a community so we can move forward together.
Beautiful. Well, that makes me think that sometimes what we pass along is misery and trauma. And when we document it, like you said, Kevius, that was amazing, that when we have a history, we can bring it with us. We can preserve it. We could tell the story. And as we've all heard, we won't repeat history when we know the history. And so sometimes it's important to expose that misery and trauma and pass it along for generations so we fix that issue. And also when trauma is passed along for generations, sometimes our psyche is built around it. And so my goal and my love in life is to talk about money all the time. I drive my kids crazy about it because I'm talking about the deep parts of money, back when there was salt as currency and wampum shells as currency, and the evolution of currency. What comes next? Who expected digital wallets on the internet to be worth so much money? Nobody. So we're evolving money, and I hope that we evolve our currency in America and the world to support people and create regenerative economies and a just transition, because transition is inevitable and justice is not. So I'm Chris Hewitt. I'm the director of the Hudson Valley Current, and I love having guests every week. Karine, it's great to see you here and be in your amazing office on the corner of Crown Street. And Brian, I hope that we get to hang out and go fishing, enjoy life together.
Of course.
Kevius, I'll see you in the office on Monday. And as always, you're amazing. And maybe we'll get together for a little party and lunch at the cafe soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you all for being an amazing discussion.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. Bye, Karine.
Thank you.